You're welcome back to the program. Well, our conversation tonight has been on the issues surrounding the arraignment and conviction of the former CJN Walter Onoge on charges of false assets declaration. But while the battle rages in the judiciary, the legislature is also gearing up for what some have called a leadership tussle in the Ninth Assembly. But before we get into that, let's get Mr. G.T. Oguye's final thoughts on the former CJN's case. Now, earlier I was saying that if this sort of big or huge case had not come up, would we have been talking about some of the reforms we're looking at in the judiciary?
We probably won't be talking about that. You know, recommendations can be made time and again, but when there are no factual situations that warrant stakeholders focusing on the subject so closely, we won't then have these issues. And then talking about, you know, how to reform. Yeah. One will recommend, I want to recommend that the federal government post this event in collaboration with the stakeholder, NJC, all the body, MBA, and all that. We'll have to set up a grand commission to look at how to reform our judiciary holistically and comprehensively, not just about corruption in the judiciary. And I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility. The NJC has no capacity to serve reform. Part of the problem that we have to deal with on this occasion is that we had a CJN who was indicted presiding over an NJC that he single-handedly nominated or appointed 14 members of, a majority of them. So how can that NJC that is called upon to regulate itself, regulating the regulators, okay, you know, perform you know, optimally. So all this will have to be talked about, right, and then at the end of the day, there can be some legislative intervention and then amendments of the grand protocols, the Constitution, and all that to ensure that our judiciary performs better.
Well, I have written that recommendation down, and I trust that the government is listening. But let's now focus on the Ninth Assembly. And at this moment, we want to enter the arena of the incoming Ninth Assembly and give you some sort of a front seat view of what to expect in the coming weeks. So we begin with the major contenders, that's talking about the Ninth Assembly and their pedigree. We begin with the House of Representatives, and what we're trying to do is give you a sense of who might be the next leader of the Senate, the House of Representatives. So first off, in the House of Representatives, we have Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila representing Lagos State. That's, of course, Southwest. This is his 5th tenure, and he's a majority leader. And according to bookmakers, he's said to be the anointed one, as he has been endorsed by his party, the APC. Next up is Chike Okafor representing Imo State. That's, of course, in the Southeast. This is his 2nd tenure. We also have Abdurazak Namdas representing Adamawa State. That's Northeast, of course. This is his 2nd tenure and spokesman, House of Representatives. Next up is Nkiruka Oyejeocha representing Abia State. That's, of course, the Southeast. And this is a 4th tenure, chairperson, House Committee on Aviation. And last but not least, we have Honorable John Deere representing Benue State. That's his 3rd tenure. Now, before we go to the upper chamber, I think we should just get right into this. Now that we've given you who the contenders are, let's take a look at the possibilities right now. Don't forget, we're giving you a front seat role in this arena as the Ninth Assembly gears up to commence its proceedings. And joining us live from Abuja to help us get a sense of the expectations, we have a House of Representatives member-elect, a former Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Khadija Buka Ibrahim. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. And right next to her is a former member of the House of Representatives in the 7th Assembly, Honorable Robinson Uwak. We appreciate your presence. We also have Mr. G.T. Oguye joining us in our Lagos studio to help get a sense of what to expect from the Ninth Assembly. Now, I'd like to begin with Honorable Buka Ibrahim. I'm sure you've come across the expression leadership tussle in various media platforms. Now, the question is, as someone that has an inside perspective, would you say there's indeed a leadership tussle, or what exactly is happening?
Thank you very much. And first of all, I'd like to wish all our viewers a happy Easter holiday. And we hope that we'll have progress and we'll forge ahead in this country as one Nigeria. Thank you very much. Well, as a leadership tussle that you mentioned, first of all, this occurred in the 4th Assembly, in the 8th Assembly, when the party proposed Senator Ahmed Lawal and Honorable Femi Bajabiamila as candidates for Senate and House of Representatives. Now, we must remember that we all came on a platform, and that platform is the party that we all belong to. And if the party proposes to members that they think that these two people are the best for the party and indeed the National Assembly, I think that we should abide by it, as the party supremacy supersedes any self-interest. And also, I think that our dear President, who canvassed the whole of Nigeria, 36 states of Nigeria and Abuja, to give us all the necessary support, deserves to be respected, and his views also respected on who to adopt, seeing as what happened in the 8th Assembly is something that we all regretted. And so I think that basically the party has supremacy over any self-interest. So if it proposes candidates for us, I think we should respect the party more than anything.
So do you see, do you see the possibility of a leadership tussle?
Well, since the president announced that we were invited to a meeting with Mr. President, and it was announced that Honorable Femi Bajabiamila would be the candidate that would be chosen. In countries around the world, you know that things like this happen when a single political party gathers around and decides on a candidate. And that candidate is the person that all the other parties, all the other supporters, and all the other members.
Okay, now I'd like to take you up on this other issue briefly.
By.
If you can hear me, I'd like to take you up on this other issue briefly. Now, there are insinuations that the president is really, really interested in who gets to the leadership seats, talking about the 9th Assembly. But some others are saying that this might be a ploy, in some sense, to get some form of easy leadership that will just be some rubber stamp. Is that true?
No, certainly not. It's not a rubber stamp. The parliament is not a rubber stamp. Everybody was voted in independently and through a free and fair and transparent election. So I'm sure the president is not using members to gain popularity amongst the legislature. But he wants to see that there's unity within the party so as we can use our numbers to win the speakership position and also to endorse the proposed candidate, Honorable Femi Bajabiamila. And also, I think that once you go back to the 8th Assembly, there's a lot of regret over what happened. And things didn't go as, you know, they were supposed to go. So I think the president is intervening now. Before in the 8th Assembly, he said he can work with anybody and, you know, they can propose, the members should choose their leaders. But when it came out, it didn't work out, it didn't augur so well for the party.
Okay, I'd like to take on Mr. Owak.
So now
I'd like to take on Mr. Owak now. Now, you are a member, or were a member, of the 7th Assembly under the leadership of now Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, who was a speaker then. Now, what would you say is the ideal way of arriving at who occupies the seat of a speaker, for example?
Thank you so much, Kaede. I want to use this opportunity to wish Nigerians a very happy Resurrection Day celebration. I pray that God will give us, the grace, to continue to remain a united people, and that we can forge ahead, with nation building. I want to just quickly go to the real issues here. When you talk about tussle in the Ninth Assembly, I want to say that, firstly, when there is no equity, that is the only situation where you begin to have, the use of the word tussle. Clearly, this country is first divided into the northern and southern Nigeria. Secondly, it is further divided into 6 geopolitical zones. The northern Nigeria has 3 zones, while the southern Nigeria has 3 zones. Now, we have 6 key positions in the formation of a government. You have the position of the presidency, you have the position of the vice president, you have the Senate president, the deputy Senate president, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Both the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in section 14 to be precise, and the Constitution of the party, the ruling All Progressives Party, All Progressives Congress, in Article 7, you can read it all downwards. It talks about sharing these positions in a manner. Article 7 talks of the Constitution of the party, talks about sharing these key positions in a manner that fosters national unity. The Constitution in section 14 is very clear. It talks about spreading these positions in a manner that guarantees federal character.
So, Honorable Uwak,
and I think that every zone in this country deserves
Honorable
a slot.
Sorry to butt in. From what you have seen so far, do you think the principle of federal character will be upheld? Do you see a possibility that that will happen or otherwise?
Well, I think that the All Progressives Congress, APC, as a party, prides itself in always doing the right thing. And I believe definitely, because what we're clamoring for is equity and justice. So the party and Mr. President, I believe, will definitely see reasons, because what is right is right.
Okay.
What is right is right.
Now, during the week,
we have a situation.
During the week, sorry to butt in, Honorable John Deere, you of course know him, who is also a contender from Benue State, rejected the adoption of Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and he asked the APC to rezone it to the North Central. Now, that's someone who's saying, hey, look, I don't think this is fair. This seems lopsided. And this is for Honorable Buka Ibrahim. How do you respond to that?
Well, with the cognate experience of Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, who is now a majority leader, in any society in the world, he automatically metamorphosizes into the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And I think that most likely the zoning formula is going to start from the southwest, go down to the north central, and the rest are going to be also taken care of appropriately. So if we consider a speaker, we are not just talking about any person coming in. We're talking about a person that is capable, that has the integrity, that has the capability of carrying the House along. We cannot be seen in the outside world to have people that cannot represent us appropriately. We have had a very healthy democracy, and that democracy must be sustained with responsible and able people who will stand up and talk, and when they talk with authority and with a lot of interest to the nation and to the world at large.
Okay.
So I think that the choice of Femi Gbajabiamila is not one that should be overlooked by party members.
All right, let me come back to the studio now.
Adequate cognate experience. He's been a minority leader. He's a majority leader. He's been in the House since 1999.
Honorable Bukar Ibrahim.
So I think
I'd like to ask Mr. Ogunye this question.
Like I said earlier, selfish interests should be put aside and let us consider party and unity of this country.
All right. So, Mr. Ogunye, briefly, you've listened to them, and I'm sure you've been following what's happening. Now, there's the federal character on one hand, and there's competence on another hand, as she has said. According to the Constitution, which ranks higher, which is weightier when it comes to this sort of position?
You really can't have them weighted in the way and manner you suggested. Competence is indeed very key. Integrity is key. But the framers of the Constitution are also very clear, given the fact that Nigeria is a multi-ethnic state, is a multicultural state. So you need to harmonize various interests in the country, and that's why you have a Federal Character Commission that is dedicated to the mandate of ensuring that there is fairness and equity in distribution of government offices and all that, so that we won't have a lopsidedness. But, you know, as it's been said, one ought not to be at the expense of another. Those who say that, you know, it's competence that is important, and then you have a concentration of appointment in one section of the country, the critical question that will raise is, are you implying thereby that it is only in your own corner of the country that you have competent people? So we need that spread. It is important because, you know, we need to continue to build this democracy from diverse communities, diverse backgrounds, in an inclusive fashion, so that nobody will be left behind. Not just to accommodate ethnic diversity, there's cultural diversity, there's gender diversity. You know, how many women do we have in our public offices? You know, religious diversity. We need to reflect all those diversities and ensure that we have a strong country.
Brilliant. Well, we'll take a break now on the program, and when we return, we'll talk more about the soon to commence 9th Assembly and, you know, the leadership tussle, and more importantly, representation. That's really important. Stay with us.